right, here we go.
Hello.
Here we go.
Wait a second. Who do I hear? Whose voice is that?
Mine.
Who do we have on the podcast today?
Not me.
Who are you?
This is RuRu. Ruthie Jean Castle.
Wow.
So RuRu.
What
okay,
an honor
talk
to
like a big
have
girl.
Ru on the pod today. And if we are being honest, we both look like ragamuffins and she looks like a princess.
She is dressed in her pink princess dress. She's got her little bunny and her rose that we got yesterday. Hey, so what do we name your bunny?
Lucky Lou.
Lucky Lou. Lucky Lou is so sweet. She's soft and got floppy ears. Well, RuRu, it's good that you're joining us today. You're sitting in Papa's lap. We had a fun night last night. It was fun because Carson and Sarah had some of their friends come over. Riley and Chloe came with Dio and Jack. And then Christian and Emily and Shar came over. And his friend Reagan joined us.
Chloe.
And then what?
Zoe.
Did I say Chloe?
You said Chloe.
Oh my gosh, Zoe.
Chloe rhymes.
Well, sorry about that, Zoe. I think we're going to keep rolling.
Yeah.
I could edit that out, but I'm just going to do it. You do look like a Chloe, though, don't you?
She kind of does.
No, I know Zoe. That's so wild. Were we talking about Chloe earlier?
No.
Okay. Remember, you don't have to get real close. Just talk normal. So, yeah. And then we had one of my friends, Matt, came over. And so we had a 7-handed poker game. And we had all kinds of good food. And
It was a fun night.
Fun night. The girls sat in there and played princess and watched some movies and hung out in the vibe.
Yeah.
We went outside. It was all kinds of fun. And I think what makes me like the happiest is that it's all of our kids, our grandkids, and their friends. It's just one big happy family, isn't it? What was your favorite part about last night, Ru? What do you think?
Having dessert.
Having dessert.
Oh, having
and dinner.
dessert and dinner. Smart girl. Girl after my own heart.
Yeah, that was really fun.
it was great.
Having not all the kids, Shannon and Ryan didn't get to come, but they're not super into poker. But when we have our summer nights and we're hanging out and you're grilling out and, just anytime, once a week, having all the kids over is just such a sweet, sweet treat.
Yeah, I just thought, babe, we could talk about, we talked in our first few podcasts about the legacy that we built and we're proud of, but then we went back and just talked about how hard it is. And everybody knows if you're married at all or been dating or in any kind of relationship, it is hard and it takes a lot of work. But one of the things I wanted to talk about is parenting and parenting of adult kids. And I think we've touched on it before, but I think you can't touch on this enough because we're talking to people all the time that are trying to relate to their, yes, they're sometimes elementary, they're middle school age, they're high school age kids. But then when they get into this college and then post-college years, this young adult phase, and they're a lot of times they're looking for direction. They're trying to figure life out and trying to figure out which way they're going to go. And a lot of times as parents, we see around some corners maybe that they can't see, or we think we can, or we want to. We want to guide them and direct them with the experience and the wisdom that we've learned. But sometimes that can feel, like we're being intrusive or we're the helicopter parent. So it's that delicate balance, how much you give to your kids. And so I just wanted to talk about that role and how it changes, I believe, when your kids are adults. And how you want to be there for them, and it's more adult to adult, kind of peer and more friendship. You don't want to be the friend when they're growing up. You want to be a parent. But I think then you shift into that. Yes, they'll always be your kid, and you'll always be their parent, but your relationship changes.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
Sometimes you think once you kind of get them through, diapers and potty training and doing things on their own, and, they go through, elementary, then middle school, you start thinking, okay, so it's probably going to get easier, like high school and beyond. And I mean, parts of it do. I remember someone telling me early on, like when they're younger, it takes much more of your physical energy. As they grow and you don't have to do as much for them, it takes much more emotional or mental energy. And that has been true. I've seen that for myself. Just as they grow, they don't need you physically as much, but gosh, they never quit needing mom and dad. But then there reaches a point where, okay, they're kind of grown, 18, 19, you hear some.
Hang on, what was that? You think?
I think I hear Carson and Sarah.
Oh, they're maybe waking up. Yeah.
I think they're stirring.
Speaking of grown kids, I think I hear Carson waking up.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think there's just this balance, as they get into, 18, 19, 20, where you can't make all those decisions for them. You shouldn't make all those decisions for them, and maybe they come to you and they need or want advice, or when you really feel a nudge, like I need to share this with them, but I think we need to be careful and kind of start letting, opening our hands and letting them make decisions that, we may think could, we see a different, better way to do it. But the best, you and I had to make our own decisions, and how did that work for you when your parents had a lot of, advice or, just would kind of tell you when they didn't agree with how you did something when you were 18, 19, 20, you were kind of like, hey.
Right. And one of the hardest things to do as a parent, when you have made your own mistakes, we want them to avoid the mistakes we made. And so we want to interject and tell them what we know and tell them what we think and what we've experienced. And again, there is something very helpful about that. And when there's respect there, they can, quote, respect their elders, respect the authority, respect your experience. But when it's uninvited and when you're coming down on them and it feels like you're being condescending or that they're stupid or that they don't know what they're talking about, a lot of times the anger that can come up in us, it's all about fear. We do love them. We're just afraid they're going to make mistakes. But there is no other way for them to actually learn other than to make their own decisions. And we have to let them fail. We have to let them make the mistakes. Pain is the path, right? Suffering leads to life. It's this stuff that of Scripture that we say and we quote, but we don't really like to live it. And I love with Richard Rohr, his book Falling Upward, where he talks about, you have to go. There's no other way. You have to fail. You have to fall. And when you do, there is the resurrection after the death.
And did you used to have a plaque or something that said every man's got to do his own growing?
No matter how big your father is, every man has to do his own growing.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Right. And so what's cool is if you can just back off and, sit on your hands and people think, well, is that even responsible?
Hold your tongue.
Because I'm their parent.
Yeah.
But it's that independence that they're wanting, that autonomy. They want you to know that you believe in them. I remember even in the little things, when the boys, we'd be out fishing. And I think I don't know if I've told this story, but we were out at the WR Ranch, and it was about spawn time. And, I have my truck out there and I'm with one of the boys and they're not old enough to drive. They haven't had driver's ed yet. And, but they've driven golf carts and they've driven go-karts and driven little cars here and there and, at the arcades and all that. But, I remember, and they knew some basics. I'd trained them on the basics, but I think Christian was 12 or 13 years old, right? Hadn't had his learner's permit, didn't have his driver's license. And we were out there at the tank, and I said, hey, Sonny, pull the car around. but pull the truck around. And he looked at me like, what, me? and and when I was walking away, I'm thinking, man, please God, don't let him drive this thing into the tank. But besides driving it in the tank or hitting the cow, there wasn't much damage he could do. And when I walked away, I just remember him feeling like, wow, Dad believes in me. That's what that's saying. It's like, wow, Dad believes in me, maybe more than I believe in myself. And so that's a really, really important concept as we, allow our kids to start, figuring stuff out for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a saying that I thought of just a little bit ago, and it has always stuck with me, and I hope I don't butcher it, but it said, you can speak to it's primarily about sons, but you could, but you can speak to your son as a prince or a punk, and whoever you speak to will show up.
Well, yeah. That cork principle, they're going to rise to the level in which you treat them or see them or expect of them. Yeah. It'll start to manifest in them what you see and what you speak over them, what you believe, because they are still looking to you. Like, do you believe in me? Do I have what it takes? Right.
And sometimes it can be a little or a lot daunting, a little bit scary, because I think of all of the people that we've met with through the years. And so many of them go back to, like something that hurt them as a child or a teenager or a young adult. And it was something that a parent or a coach or some figure, some adult figure in their life spoke to them. And it really wounded them,
right.
And maybe even led them down a different path of really believing some lies about themselves. And so you think, wow, that's scary to think of how much power lies in the tongue. Because you can, you may be tired or you may be irritated or you may be, afraid or angry about something else. But if you let loose on your kids and you say something, I'm not saying it's like irreversible. You were always very, very good and a great example of when you said something that you're like, man, I shouldn't have said that or shouldn't have said it that way. And you would go back to the kids and say, hey, listen, that was not about you, So repairing that damage or that hurt that, may have been spoken. But there's just so much power in the tongue.
I remember seeing that Nooma video, Nooma. They're old videos that Rob Bell used to do. And one of them was entitled Lump, Lump. And it was about the kid who had been scolded by a parent and gets sent to their room, and he, runs away, and he crawls up in bed and pulls his cover over him, and he's crying, hard. Well, then he cries himself to sleep, and the parent that comes and finds them in that lump, they pull the covers back, and there's that kid just sweaty and tears on their face, kind of dried, and they had just when they kind of cry themselves to sleep, they're wondering, am I good? Does my daddy or mommy love me? Am I a good kid? And so it's, I blew it all the time, but there's times, where they deserved, it's like, okay, so what you did, that was a knucklehead move and you deserved the punishment. But you know what? My anger and what I said, that's on me. That's not on you. You did not deserve that. And, so it's at the end of every interaction, making sure you tell your child, man, I love you. Or you tell your grown, your 17, 18-year-old boy, hey, you're a good kid, right? It's tell them who they are, not who they aren't, right? Instead of saying you're a liar, no, hey, that was a lie. You're not a liar. You're a truth teller. We tell truth in this family. And so it's speaking that over them and expecting that and just showing them at the end of the day, I love you and I believe in you. Yes.
Because I do believe you absolutely, as parents, your job is to discipline, to train, to teach, and so I'm not saying, just completely pull back and like you can never, discipline your children, but just like you said, there is a completely different way to do it. It it really does have to do with the words that you speak over them, you know?
Yeah.
And even as like little tiny kids, sometimes I hear parents saying things and their kids are in earshot, like they know they're hearing them. And I'm like, do you know what you're speaking?
Yeah.
These labels that you're giving your kids or the way that you're speaking about them to other people, they're listening to that. That is having a huge effect on them.
Yeah. It's the boy who is shamed in front of his friends because the dad makes fun of him. I remember one time when my father, we were sitting at a table and I was in 8th grade and my best friend was over. And I didn't want to eat some of my vegetables. And the kid was eating. He's like, yeah, look at there. Your friend is eating his vegetables. And look how big and strong. You want to be scrawny or be big and strong like him? And that, I still remember that to this day, right? And you said it, but the message is when especially a young man is told by his father, but I mean, it's not, gender specific. It can be a young girl being told by her father or the mother that you're stupid, you'll never amount to anything. So many men that I talk to in their 40s and 50s, they're still trying to win that approval of a father who maybe he never knew or that abandoned the family or that has passed away. But he was told, you'll never amount to anything. You're so stupid. You're a screw up. Why do you always do that? You're embarrassing. Those are like literally you're speaking death over that kid. And they believe it. And so a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, right? And we talked about it. So that's those core wounds that they bring into relationships. And so I always say, well, what's the answer to that? How do we heal that? You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. So when you hear from God the truth about your identity, you will be set free from the tyranny of the judgment of your peers, your parents, your coach, your teacher that spoke that death over you.
Yes.
So it's important that we hear the voice of God, right? And then that's a whole nother podcast. How do we do that?
Yes.
But it's interesting that we've gotten into that. What was so cool about, I think when you can back off and not try to control and steer your kid when they are starting to make some of their mistakes and they're wanting that independence, they're wanting that autonomy, you model. So most of parenting is caught, it's not taught. So model what you want, right? They're going to see that, and at some point train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're older, they will not depart from it. So if you can be their friend, encourage them, be that encouragement, then what we see is instead of being 18 and them, flipping the finger and saying, I'm out of here and I won't be back, your adult children want to come home and they want to be around you. And if you don't, offer this unsolicited advice, we find our adult children are actually coming to us and asking for advice because they respect you, because you haven't intruded and you haven't hovered. And then not only do they want to come back, so you get to see them, the grandkids, and then all the kids, and you become this hub for the big poker nights and having the party with RuRu.
Yeah.
And all these young adult girls who just want to come over and be with RuRu and have some fun. So you get the benefit, and that's what it's about. That's when you feel like the richest man in the world. It's not about having a lot of money or the toys and the cars and the boats. It's about having that full house and that home where the love is. Yeah, the kids will return to where the love is.
They will, and it's a sweet season for us for sure. I think we've said for a while, and this is kind of an interesting concept, but about how we always say raising kids. We're just raising kids, and just kind of flipping that and saying, no, our kids raised us. I think about as we started having kids, how old was I? I was, I don't know, 25, 20, 20, like 26 or 27.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, we were, not kids, but I look back and I think, oh, we thought we knew it, didn't we? But we just still were so young and so learning, learning so much. And, I do think I don't think that we live with a lot of regrets at all. I don't. But I do look back and think, man, how different would I parent now as a 57-year-old, just because you've gone over so much ground and you've learned so much in yourself. And so as you're raising kids, in your 20s or your 30s, you're growing with them. So it is actually like they're raising you, There is no greater teacher than being a parent. And so I think now one of the sweet things that we love about being a Mimi and a Papa is because we can hang out with them and give them sugar and give them back. Ha. That's like the joke. But that's really, the truth is, we're there not for every, as a parent, you're so tired. Yeah. How many baths have we given? How many lunches have we made? How many messes have we cleaned up? How many toys have we, stepped on? Or, how many minivans have we had to vacuum out? Like it can be a whipping, really tiring. And so, now on the other side of that, you're like, man, it goes so fast.
Not
like,
only
enjoy
it goes fast, but when you're in the throes of that, there's the insecurity and sometimes in the fears and the
What
worries about
doing?
Finances. How are we going to raise these kids? What are they going to become? How are we going to navigate the school system, all the sports? There's just so much of the unknown that you can now look back and go, man, just chill. We've got some peace. We've got some wisdom about that. So you're not as stressed, and we can be in the moment. It's a lot easier to be present as Mimi and Papa. So let me ask you this, RuRu. When your mommy and daddy are kind to you and they tell you the things that make you feel good, what are some of the things your mommy and daddy say to you that make you feel that they love you?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Okay. How about when they say you are kind?
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Good.
And that makes you want to be, does that make you want to be more kind or make you unkind?
More kind.
And you're a great big sister. You're so sweet and helpful with Max and Georgia.
You know what? And she's so thoughtful. Yesterday we were running through the Dollar General and looking for some toys, and we were at this little overstocked freight, surplus store, and I looked up, and on the top, it was it Lilo or Stitch up there? Stitch, wasn't it? Do you remember when I pulled down Stitch?
Yes.
And I said, hey, RuRu, would you like Stitch? And she goes, I think Georgia would be upset.
Because Georgia loves Stitch.
She loves Stitch. And so I just thought that was so sweet that instead of saying, hey, yeah, I want that for myself, you were thoughtful and you were worried that Georgia may be a little upset if you got it. So we're going to save that for Georgia. I thought that was so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's for her next birthday.
Yeah. Yeah, so hopefully Georgia won't hear this. It'll spoil the surprise.
She better not listen to this podcast. Yeah. Another thing that I noticed with Chandler and Ryan, with Rue, Max and Georgia, and then also Christian and Emily with Charlotte, just how in touch I think they are with the kids' emotions and allowing them space to feel those emotions, rather than just saying, no, we're not going to act like that, or no. And I'm saying it's not that they don't discipline them, but they look at it more like, no, this is training ground. We're going to teach them. We're going to talk to them like, tell me, what are you feeling? Right now, just a few minutes ago when I was brushing Rue's hair with her princess dress, she started kind of crying. I don't want to brush my hair. And so we talked. I said, I know it's not fun sometimes to brush our hair, but we're almost done. And so I said, tell me what you're feeling. And she said, I'm just sad. I just need a hug. So I just hugged her and held her. And that just came from asking, how why she was sad about brushing her hair. Because it wasn't like ripping it out, with tangles. She just did not want to stop and brush her hair right then. And so just, I think, giving them a space to tell, giving a name to those emotions and letting them kind of be curious about that and not just shut them down. If they're mad or if they're sad, let them be and give them a safe space to talk about it,
Well, just most of us are not really good at getting in touch with our emotions and actually feeling what we feel. It's scary. Sometimes it's daunting and it's worrisome, and we want to project how we're feeling onto our kids or vice versa. It's like we're taking on some of the things and we want to rescue them from feeling it. And yeah, if we could all just be better about letting ourselves feel, you can't heal what you don't feel, right? And going back to something you said earlier, babe, is, once obviously, when we talked about those core wounds that we have, and if you believe in those lies, then you bring in this train wreck of a person into these relationships. And that's what I brought into our marriage, right? So I have unhealed wounds. And then when I'm, yelling at my kids, that's not about them. That anger, that was about my unhealed wounds. And so by the time we figure our stuff out, usually the horse has left the barn, man. We've already screwed our kids up, right? And so we think, dang it. Like, why is it that way? Why are we young and having our kids young before we're healed? And that's just the way it is. And that's why you're right. Our kids, they raise us, our consciousness, what we learn, our lessons, the way they will say these innocent little things that make us look inside. And when we can be self-aware and introspective in those moments and say, wow, they just touched on something that just was a mirror that showed me who I really am. And if we don't shut that down, if we don't turn it around and, let that blast them, we can really grow up. They can help us truly grow up.
It is one of the most refining things that we could ever do.
Can we be done?
We can be done in a few minutes, yes.
Okay.
Well, you're being a great podcast partner.
I know.
You know that?
This is awesome.
Yeah.
Having Ru on the pod.
We're almost done because we're going to be hitting the road here in a minute. So as far as the adult, Jamie, one of the adult children, one of the things that was cool, Chan and I, our oldest daughter, we're very much alike. We're wired so much the same, and you and she kind of butted heads, and kind of
middle school,
in middle school,
or,
high school, and some of that maybe was the angst and even some of the modeling. What I showed her, some of the disrespect that I've apologized for, and told her it's like, hey, you don't talk to your mom like that, and she looked at me like, really, you're gonna tell me that? And so the Holy Spirit convicted me through her and said, okay, well, you know what, it's not good for me, but it's not good for you either, sweetie. So we're both gonna try to clean that up. But man, what has been beautiful to watch is the relationship you have now with her. And so what could have gone really, really south had you just continued to, exacerbate, I guess, some of the barriers and the junk that was between you guys when she was growing up. You just calmly kind of backed off and allowed that to be what it was. And now, I mean, just seeing the way she loves and respects you and how really it's like y'all are best friends.
Yeah. So, if I could pick okay, who could I go spend the day with? Let's go get our nails done or go to lunch or, go to, Spain for 2 weeks. I'd pick Chandler. I love spending time with her. And, that is a good point. And I share this with people a lot that again, I wish I knew more what I know now about personality types and, how we've studied the Enneagram a little bit. I wish I would have understood a little bit more the personality, the temperament of each of our kids. And, they're not all the same. It's not just a template, like one size fits all. And so now that I know what I know, Chan being a 4 on the Enneagram, I'm a 2 on the Enneagram. Chan is a big feeler kind of person. I mean, and I have big feelings too, but she likes to kind of sit in those feelings. 4s really feel super big feelings, and they usually are creatives. And so they use all those emotions to drive their painting or their writing or their dancing or, music, whatever it is. And Chan is a beautiful, like phenomenal writer. If y'all don't follow her, her name is Chandler Castle now. So you need to go find her on Instagram or Facebook.
Like just next level, like top
really,
top
really
stuff.
beautiful. And so she feels all these big feelings and like, don't take them away from me. I want to sit in them because it's really, it helps guide her through life. Well, here I am as a 2, a helper. What do I want to do? I want to go and take those feelings from her. So if she's feeling big feelings in middle
because
school,
you're uncomfortable.
and so I'm like, oh, it's okay, no big deal. Let's go bake brownies, or let's go get our nails done, or let's go. It's okay, but you don't have to worry about that. Blow that off. So what I was wanting to do was pull those feelings away from her, and she was pulling. It was an arm wrestling match because she's like, wait a second, I don't want to. But she didn't know how to voice it. She was just like, don't sugarcoat everything, Mom. I wanted to cheerlead and sugarcoat and make things better for everyone around me, not knowing that was hamstringing her, you know? So now I would have
quiet resentment there. Yeah. You started feeling it.
Yeah. So if I would have known more about that when she was little, I would be like, okay, so she needs these feelings. We all do. We all need to experience those feelings. We don't need to just medicate or numb out and so I would have known better how to work through that. But again, no regrets because it really kind of built up to where we are now, you know, and there's so much grace and love and forgiveness, you know, because like you said, they always come back to where the love is. They'll remember some things we coulda, shoulda, woulda done different, but also there's, you know, we'll always have that.
One of the dynamics I want to touch on I see it in a lot of couples that come to us for help and they're struggling with parenting. It's the different parenting styles and just how I was the hard ass. You were the pushover in my mind, you know, thought you're too lenient. You're too strict. You're too rigid. And my family of origin, you know, we grew up, we had more structure. You had a little more, less structure, let's say. In your home growing up. And so we had our, way of looking at the world, a way of doing things. And could I be too hard sometimes? Sure. Yeah. Could you be too easy sometimes? Yeah. But this good cop, bad cop, and you resenting me and me resenting you, and you're trying to buffer the kids from big bad old dad and me feeling disrespected many times in that moment. I mean, that's a real thing. I mean, we could go on and on, but that's such a huge, ubiquitous dynamic in so many couples. And I want to just say, look, if that's you and you're struggling with that, man, look us up. I mean, call us.
We have a little bit to share about that.
We have so much we can help talk through with you on that. But here's the deal. When I can be influenced by you and truly let you see. Yeah, baby.
Nothing.
Okay, we're almost done. When I can allow you to influence me and to show me some of my blind spots and maybe where I could soften up a little. Maybe not in front of the kids and not in the heat of the moment, but take me aside and I can take you aside and say, babe, I really think you may be, enabling them or disabling them in some way, over-functioning, what have you. And they need some tough love, whatever the case. They end up, here's what's so cool, as hard as I was, quote unquote, and as lenient as easy or pushover as you were, they all respect both of us and in our own way, right? And so, when you think, oh man, I've really screwed up and they're going to be done with me because I was this or I was that, being their parent and not being so popular, not being their friend, but being their parent, like stick to your guns because they do respect you. So that's the cool thing when I see, especially my boys, and the respect they have for me now. And, we've gone over all the could be, would be resentments that they could have felt or would feel. And I think we've done so much work around that. My apologies for being, when you blow it, because dads will blow it.
Yeah.
And you've heard us say before, you just blow it less frequency and blow it to less frequently and blow it to less degree.
Yeah.
But I love the respect that I feel from them, and that's even with screwing up and being the hard butt, in our marriage. And then to see how much they respect you because of who you were. And so it's that cool dynamic that they received from both parents, that when we were really functioning on that same page.
Yeah.
But it took us forever to get there.
Yeah, it did. But it was I think it's a beautiful blend, and, just a testament now to us, not quitting, sticking it out, and giving them just a place to come back to, and now watching them become parents and have some questions and seeing, it's like now they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's
so yeah, there's a lot of that. You don't have to say, well, just wait one day because or I told you so, because they're going to come and they're waking up and they're becoming conscious. They're going, oh my gosh.
Their kids are raising them too.
Their kids are raising them.
Beautiful circle of life.
And not only do you it's that legacy of home and them wanting to be here. So you see your kids and grandkids, and if you're lucky enough for them to be local and they want to be around, but also their friends. And so many times we see a lot of the young adult, whether they're married or not, these kids, and a lot of them didn't have really strong families or strong family bonds, and they're just so looking for that belonging. So again, man, if you invest in your family, then you can become that surrogate family for a lot of the people who really, really did not have that. And that's so rewarding, because at the end of the day, we all want to belong. We want to know that we're significant. Someone sees us. Someone hears us. Someone believes in us. So many of these young men, especially, man, they're needing someone that can look at them and say, man, dude, I'm proud of you. Good job. I believe in you. I believe in you more than you believe in yourself. So that's the environment you want to set. And so as a parent, I would just say, try to, pick your battles, pick your spots where you're going to share your wisdom, but always, a sage never runs down the pupil or the student. He waits for them to approach them. Otherwise, you're kind of throwing your pearl before swine. So remember that. Just chill out, back off, let the kids come to you.
Yeah. Have fun.
So RuRu,
have fun as much as possible.
What do you think, baby? I think we're about done. You want to tell everybody something as we wrap up?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.